Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Congressman. Must have watched dozens of those shows with my kids, Congressman Duffy. Tell us about how you got on Real World Boston. Explain to people what it was. You were all living in some swish pads, bachelor pad, weren't you?
We were on Beacon Hill in the old firehouse there, but yeah. So I'm a guy from northern Wisconsin, and I grew up doing lumberjack competitions and exhibitions. So I sent in a videotape where I was log rolling and speed climbing, saying I come from a big family in northern Wisconsin. At that point, I was in law school, and that's a tape I sent in. I was selected in round one, went through 9 other rounds.
Wow.
And was told that I had made the show, and I traveled out to Boston in January of whatever that year was, in '97, I think, and moved into the firehouse on Beacon Hill. And I got to tell you, I love Boston. We had a great time there.
Hey, Sean,
not happy with the liberal politics, but had a great time in town.
We'll allow you that one transgression. Now, Congressman
Don't
Duffy.
move from there yet. I have a very important question. What is log rolling? Are you dancing on the logs?
Yeah.
Is that what you do? You kind of stand on the logs as they roll around in the water, Congressman?
Yeah, so those of your listeners who watch ESPN 3 at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's a log in the water.
Wow.
That 2 people stand on. The only rule is there's a center line. You can't cross it. You can't touch your opponent. But beyond that, anything goes. You're battling to get your opponent off the log. It's a best-of-5 competition.
That's great.
And it's a skill that came from the old-time lumberjacks as they would drive the logs down the rivers from the forest down to the sawmill town. So it's a great American history, and it's a pretty aggressive sport. So grew up doing that and brought me to the real world, and now talking to you today.
I competed in lumberjacking, lumber rolling for years myself, Congressman, whatever it is. Hey, by the way, before we get to Paul Ryan, your colleague, I just saw you on CNN like 10 minutes ago. I don't know if you taped it or was live.
It was live, yeah.
With you and Paul Ryan, who we saw shirtless the other day, you have to have the lowest body fat in the congressional delegation in Wisconsin that I've ever seen in my life. In any case, forget that. Paul Ryan. Most of us knew him as the House Budget Chair, and for we liberals, and I am a big-time liberal up here, he's the guy who wants to cut the budget, do the Medicare. What's the background? Tell us about the real Paul Ryan as a human, and then tell us why you support him as a vice presidential candidate, Sean Duffy.
Yeah, so first of all, Paul Ryan, I think he embodies the great Wisconsin demeanor. He's one who has great conviction in politics. But what I like about him, and I think a lot of people like about him, even liberals like yourself, say, listen, he's not a guy who attacks people personally. He'll argue and fight over ideas, but he doesn't go after the person. And I think that's a great example for both people on the left and the right to see and say that's where we need to go with American politics. He's incredibly dedicated and focused on whether it's his workouts in the morning, P90X, 6:30 in the gym, which I've spent some time doing that with him. I've been off the track a little bit recently, which my wife hounds me on all the time.
Yeah.
But also what he does during the day with regard to his reading, his meetings, his education in regard to the budget, and how you put out a plan that's going to fix the problems that we face in this country. And I think that's one of the great reasons why he'll be a fantastic VP candidate and a vice president.
Hey,
because
I'm sorry.
I was going to say we have big problems in this country with the debt and deficit, with the lack of growth and lack of jobs. I think Americans are looking for real leadership to fix the problems that we face. And I know that we probably won't have the plan that Paul had worked on or what we passed in the House. But to get an agreement between Republicans and Democrats, your liberal friends, they have to put out a budget. They have to put out an idea so then we can come together, argue, fight, and get an American plan.
I couldn't
agree on that. But you can't get there until someone puts out a plan that actually balances on your side of the aisle.
And by the way, one of the beauties, even though I don't like Paul Ryan's Medicare plan, is it forces the President of the United States to come up with his own in terms of how he's going to cause the program to exist into the future. Are you worried, though, candidly, Congressman Duffy, about how the Medicare, the voucher program that Congressman Ryan is proposing, even though Mitt Romney has tried to distance himself, are you worried how that's going to play in places like where you are right now in Florida with senior citizens?
First of all, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you agree with the president's plan in Obamacare to take $716 billion out of Medicare and use that senior money in Medicare to pay for Obamacare? Do you think that's a good idea?
No, but Congressman, wait a second. Paul Ryan took the same $716 billion out of Medicare in his own plan, right?
So there's a great distinction. To save the money is one thing, and to save that money and leave it into Medicare for the people who paid for it, that's one thing. The president doesn't leave the money in Medicare. He takes it out, and he uses it for a different group of people. Here's the problem with what the president's doing. Medicare is going bankrupt in 12 years. The CBO says it, and so does the Medicare trustees. And so when you have a program that our seniors rely on, why on earth would you take that money out of Medicare and use it for someone else? Leave the money there. It's the seniors' money.
Yeah, but
and I think, listen, I think Americans, seniors, are going to be so angry that this money is coming out and being used for someone else, and the plan is on a trajectory to bankruptcy. They're going to hold the president accountable for that. We're the only party who's put out a plan that actually preserves the promise for our current seniors. It protects our current seniors and those who are about to retire, and it does have some modifications for a future generation of seniors, but it saves the program.
Hey, Congressman, we're out of time. Just one last comment. Next time you come to Boston, we can do some lumberjacking together.
That's a deal. We'll go hit the river and we'll go do a little log rolling.
Whatever it is.
Game on.
Congressman Duffy, we really appreciate your